Excited to take you around the world to England. We are chatting with Sam Sethi. He is the CEO of TrueFans, and this is a really, really fascinating platform that is trying to help podcasters, but it seems like even beyond that now, more than just podcasters, really get compensated for their work. He also does some work with Pod News, our friend James over there. So, Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Matthew, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you've been in the IT industry for a long time. How did you kind of weave your way into getting interested in the podcasting space?
Oh, through large corporates into startups of my own. I was running TechCrunch Europe. I then started on the radio, and I scratch an itch, right? I'd never done radio. I used to be Microsoft's professional presenter at the big events they used to do. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Microsoft. Let me tell you about the latest version of Office. It's amazing. And that was my job for a while, and I was a techie. So when somebody said, let's do radio, I thought, yeah, never done it, try it. Radio led me into wanting to interview, because of my TechCrunch background, a lot of people. So I was interviewing the heads of various big companies, and that was fun. And that finally led me to doing a podcast festival with Cara Swisher and James Cridland and various others. And then lastly, I said to James, hey, fancy doing Pod News Weekly together, a longer version of your Pod News Daily? And he said, yeah. I was surprised, but I was happy. And 3 years later, here we are.
I mean, you do not waste time. Cara Swisher is one of the titans of the tech industry. I used to work with her a little bit when I was over at Dow Jones, and so that is a fantastic person to have started your podcasting journey with, and then to be working with the amazing James Cridland. I mean, you're just swinging for the fences every time you step up to the plate.
I think it's called ignorance. Just ask, and they just happen to say yes. It was like, great, thanks.
I love it. It's sort of the ask for forgiveness, not permission philosophy. Just go for it and see what happens.
You'll see more of that coming up when we talk about TrueFans.
Excellent. So tell us exactly how the TrueFans platform came to be and why this is a platform that podcasters should be paying attention to.
Okay. I really wasn't going to do one, and then somebody else approached me to do a branded advertising-based platform, and I was like, no, not interested. And then actually I got into podcasting 2.0, listening to Adam and Dave on the Podcast Index show, and I was like, this is quite interesting. Because of my technical background, I like tinkering. So started to add things, and then it was like, oh, you know what? This is really cool. And then the more and more I got into it, the more and more I wanted to do my own thing. So I did. And today, yeah, we are the number one platform that supports most, if not all, the podcasting 2.0 tags. And we are pushing the boundaries of what I think podcasting is, because I think there's so much more to come from podcasting. But I think, you have to get to the bleeding edge of it and then pull back from it a little bit to allow people to catch you up. But we're at the bleeding edge right now, and it's great fun.
For those who don't really understand, what is podcasting 2.0? What are some of the features that are starting to really power podcasting, or I should say, like, really supercharge podcasting now?
Well, first of all, it's not a unicorn. It's not a mythical creature. It is actually very simple. It's just taking what is podcasting and trying to fix some basic problems. I think there's three basic problems: discovery, interactivity, and monetization. Discovery is not, I want to be Joe Rogan, no one's discovered me. No, discovery is, I've got a brand new podcast. How do I get out of the 4 million people who've produced another podcast and at least get above the parapet, get 100 people to hear me or 1,000 people to hear me? And so discovery is one. Interactivity, how do I leave a comment back to the creator if I'm the listener? And monetization, beyond just advertising or host read ads or DAI. So with discovery, the first couple of tags are really cool. The person tag, hey, I don't know what Mathew looked like. Now I've got an image of him with the person tag in the RSS feed, and that's displayed in the app. Oh, okay. Some people will go, I wonder what Mathew looks like. I know what he sounds like. Now I can see it. Second one could be, this is a really long podcast. Like James and I do an hour and a half podcast. We break it down into sections. And now with chapters, which is another tag within the podcasting 2.0, we can then say, hey, look, You might love to hear what our top story is. You might love to hear what events are going on, but you've got no interest in all the tech talk that we do. So skip it. But now you have a index that you can visually see of the structure of the podcast. The third one that you might be interested in is transcripts. Hey, I want to follow along. Actually, I found a section that I found really interesting. I'm going to cut and paste this and I'm going to share it with my friends on social media. So person tag, chapters and transcripts are three really low-hanging fruit examples of what we're doing with Podcasting 2.0 to extend the discoverability of podcasts.
So the more information in the RSS feed, interesting, right? Helping with the discoverability. But I think, right, let's talk a little bit more about the monetization piece, because I think that also kind of lends to the second part, which is interactivity, right? For the most part, podcasters interact with their fans through a third party platform, right? Whether it's getting a rating and review through Apple or now comments on Spotify or, whatever sort of communication box they might make available on their website or through digital media. But now it seems like communication can be a little bit more direct with podcasting 2.0. Is that
Mhm.
is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, let's be fair. YouTube's had comments for a long while. Spotify's just added them. There are other ways of adding interactivity back to the creator. But I think what you're seeing there is siloed comments. So if your podcast is both in YouTube and Spotify, you've now got two comment silos that you have to go to respond to. The goal of what we're trying to do with Podcasting 2.0 is the fabled cross-app comment. So the idea is that I leave a comment in TrueFans to this podcast, someone else on Fountain leaves a comment in to this podcast, and someone in Podcast Guru or Podverse leaves a comment. But actually, those comments cross-fertilize into all of the Podcasting 2.0 apps. So you pick the app you want, but actually, as the creator, the conversation from all of your fans is in one app and then visible in all the others as well, not siloed like you'll find in Spotify or YouTube.
Right. And it's interesting you bring that up, because we had guests recently who talk about, one place where podcasters really do struggle is they think this is just a one-way street. They think they talk to their audience and that's it. But the most successful podcasters, the one who are really excelling in the space, they are conversing with their audience. So having that ability, kind of making that communication easier, will certainly make it a lot easier for people to be successful with the space. Now, the next piece of this is the monetization. And again, that's a form of communication, right? If you pay somebody to listen to their show, you are communicating to them, I like your show. So how does TrueFans enable that?
Okay, so let me just take one step back to go two steps forward. One step back is when I was at Netscape, Mark Andreessen was my boss, and he never invented a micropayment system on the internet, a way of sending small amounts of money. Why don't we just do it with PayPal or Stripe or credit card, right? Because the fees taken by those monetary payment gateways is just too high to send small micropayment amounts. So in the absence of a micropayment system in Web 2.0, we invented likes, hearts, thumbs up, and those were the way that people like fans or listeners could give sentiment back to the creator and say, I liked what you did. That's great. But none of that was useful to the creator. They couldn't monetize it in any way. So fast forward to today, what we've come up with is a mechanism that, yes, it uses Bitcoin, but that's because it's a digital currency. But the core goal of it is I can say, Mathew, I really liked what you did there. Here's 1,000 sats. Here's 100,000 sats. Even the amount is irrelevant. I mean, 100,000 sats is about £20, but 1,000 sats is about £1, right? Or $1. So you're really, what you're saying is, I want to do the same as I did in Web 2.0. I want to give you a thumb up, or I want to give you a heart or a like, but I want to attach a micro payment value to that as well, which you can then take to the bank. Because in the aggregate, if you've got 100 listeners or 1,000 listeners and they're all giving you some small micro payment, that might be $10 or $20. But when you aggregate it all together, which is probably more than you could get being a long tail podcaster like most of us, from advertising. So it's, again, a way for your fans, as you said, to give you back sentiment, but also to give you back value.
So how does that work if I'm a podcaster, right? How do I engage with TrueFans, get set up so that I can start to receive these micropayments? And then I guess importantly, if I'm a listener, what's the incentive to do this when my content is still pretty much available for free in other places?
Sure. So let's take that in two parts. Let's take the last part first. So yes, content's free on Apple. If I pay a subscription to Spotify, I don't have to pay any more, right? The reason that you want to do that is we don't want our favorite podcasters to pod fade. Now, if you're a podcaster, you have basic costs. It's the cost of hosting, the cost of kit, the cost of time. Now, if you then go, oh, you know what, I'm just making no money from this. This is taking me 3 or 4 hours each week. I'm wasting my life. I give up. Now, you might have an audience who loves you, but they've not been enabled to give you any form of value back. You can't qualify for advertising of any significance. And so you go, I'm going away, and everyone's gone, oh, if only I could have supported Mathew, he would still be here today. So it's a choice to support you. It's not a need to support you, as in I have to pay. It's a I choose to pay model. So now the second part of the model is, how do we do that? Right. Up until now, until about probably even a week ago, it was really difficult to get money into a wallet. Now, a wallet is a physical entity that just holds micropayments. So you take your dollars and you convert them to micropayment. Think of them as fairground tokens, and you put them in a wallet. And then when you come to listen to a show, you can choose to listen and pay on a streaming per minute basis. So I'll give you 100 sats per minute, or I can give you a one-off payment, a boost. So those are the ways that I can pay you. Now, up until last week, you would have had to have opened a bank account with something like MoonPay, done a know your customer, so give your passport, your driver's license. Now, nobody in the world was going to do that. It was too many hurdles to cross just to make a small micropayment. So with TrueFans, what we did last week, we gave you the option to onboard literally 2 clicks. You get an account and you get a wallet for free. You then can top up that wallet with 1-click Apple Pay or Google Pay. So you say, I want $10, click, put your thumb or put your face, whatever mechanism you do for validation, and we put that money into your wallet. Equally, when you join TrueFans, we give you 5,000 sats to play with. And we say, hey, you know what? We know this isn't all new. We know this is a little bit early doors. So here's some money anyway, just to get you started. Now, 5,000 sats is $2, right? It's not going to break my bank. It's not going to make you retire. So it's funny money that allows you to understand. And the way that we do it, we use gamification to give you that money. So we don't just give it to you. We say, look, do your first boost and we'll give you some value back. Do your first streaming episode and we'll give you some money back. So we're teaching you how the platform works while valuing your time and attention by putting money into your wallet. Now, the way the money works is when you choose to support a podcaster that you like, the money is peer-to-peer. It goes from your wallet directly to their wallet. It doesn't go through a third-party gateway. It doesn't go through a bank account. It doesn't go through any other mechanism. It goes from yours to theirs, and that's it. It's a direct peer-to-peer payment, and that's what's beautiful about it. It's that you are giving the money, and you know all the money you give goes directly to that podcast creator.
So that is going to beg the question, how does TrueFans make money if you're not taking any piece of that action? That seems to be one of the primary ways that a lot of these podcast support, platforms seem to work.
No, we take 1%. Oh, and just to be totally transparent, we take 1% of every transaction. And I think, we're not charging you for the app. We're not charging you for the wallet. We're not charging you for anything else. And we give you some money to start with. I think if you choose to give money, we take a 1% transaction. That's what keeps the lights on. I think that's pretty fair.
That's 100% fair. Okay. What other features can podcasters or frankly podcast listeners enjoy while they're on TrueFans besides just being able to support their show, with these payments?
look, you don't have to pay to come onto TrueFans, by the way. So, for example, if you didn't want to pay, don't pay. Just turn up. We've got all the podcasts that are in the podcast index. Just play away. We've also added, though, music, audiobooks, films, online courses. And so, again, we're not really restricting it to 100% just podcasting. We've gone broader. Now, why? Because all of those are delivered via RSS, and they are fundamentally, we're an RSS marketplace. We aggregate content that's delivered via RSS and allows you to play it back in the form you want. So if I want to watch a film, I click the play button on the film and I can watch it as a stamp, or I can watch it as full screen. I can then choose to pay to stream that, or I can watch it for free. So again, whether you're watching, listening, or interacting, yes, there's multiple forms of content, digital content available in TrueFans.
It's so interesting that you're bringing musicians onto the platform. Why are they finding this an intriguing proposition? And is this kind of helping them skirt some of the limitations of the music marketplace?
Spotify is the dominant player right now in music, as we all know, and they keep changing the rules on musicians for the number of plays they have to do in order to qualify for a payment. The number is just going up and up and up, and most independent music artists who are starting out in the industry just don't qualify. A bit like podcasters have to, and people say you have to have 10,000 downloads before you qualify for an advert. The bar is just too high for musicians that are starting out. So what they realized and recently learned is that actually the cover art can be the album art, the episode can be the track, and they can deliver it in a structured data format using RSS that can be played out on podcast apps just as a podcast would. And so they're going, okay, step one, I get that, I can reach a new audience. And now step two, this new value for value micropayment model means I get paid directly by my fans. Now, this weekend or last weekend in Nashville, they did a concert, a live concert, and you had several artists there, and they generated 4 million sats, just around $3,000 from people on Podcasting 2.0 apps around the world, watching live to these artists through a video, playing a concert and saying, yeah, love that, boost, 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 stream some more sats, boost. And in the aggregate from everyone around the world, they made 4 million sats. Now, again, these are early examples, but let's go fast forward 3 or 4 years when the mass market does understand this and gets on board. Wow, that 4 million could be 40 million or 400 million, because people haven't got a mechanism they understand today to reward or incentivize or value content. But once the mass market understands this model, who knows what the numbers will be.
I mean, it does sound like you're playing a real long game here. This isn't the we're going to overtake Spotify in the next year.
No,
execution.
No. Okay, so as I said, my background was in the browser wars with Netscape, right? The thing was, I remember saying to people when I first joined Netscape, when I left Microsoft, hey, it's called a browser. It's the web. Yes, it starts HTTP. No, / www, blah, blah, blah. And everyone went, oh, you're kidding me, Sam. No one's going to understand this rubbish. It's Swahili. Go away. All right. And I said, no, this is the future. And can you imagine, Matthew? So of my friends who I was trying to get to convince them to come onto this thing called the web, the problem we had was even when they jumped through all the hoops of finding a browser, getting on board, can you imagine? They ended up with this grey screen with flashing lights. And I said, yes, that's the web. It's amazing, isn't it? And they went, no, that's not amazing, Sam. And it took HTML 2, 3, 4, 5, CSS 1, 2, 3. It took the crash of the web 1.0. It took Amazon and Google to arrive. The web did not arrive day one, fully born, fully formed, fully working. And the same is true now. When I say to you, it's a wallet, you need micropayments. They are micro tokens that you exchange. It's a peer-to-peer system. People look at me and go, no, Sam, never going to catch on. You're talking Swahili again. And I go, look, bear with me, because the business need or the critical need is there, right? There is a problem, and this is the way to fix it. It may take time for us to make it simple. It may take time for adoption, But those two things will happen, and it could be 2 years or 3 years from now. But, early adopters are on the platform now, but then we'll get the next group. It's going to happen. It's just a case of when, and it won't be tomorrow, but yeah, it will be soon.
Well, given your track record so far, I will definitely be paying close attention, and I will try and learn Swahili since it seems to be working out so well for you. So if I pull up my podcasting tech page here on TrueFans, and we'll have a link to it in the show notes below so you can check it out as well. There's a feature on here called the pod roll. What is that all about?
Okay, so historically, when people used to do blogging, they used to put a recommendation of other blogs that they would love, right? Oh, I love Mathew's blog. I love James Cridland's blog. You should read. If you like my blog, these are the ones you should read. Well, we wanted a similar thing in podcasting. If you like this podcast, how about these podcasts? And therefore, the creator can recommend other people's podcasts. And that's where we got to. It was lovely. It's very simple, and a lot of hosts now support it. A lot of apps support it, and TrueFans was the first one to do it. But it just means that your fans can say, "Yeah, I trust Mathew. I listen to Mathew every week, and now he's recommending me these other ones to listen to. Sure, I'll give it a go." And some of those will convert to fans of other podcasts, and some of them will go, "No, gave it a try, not my cup of tea." We also did that for music artists, where it's like, this music track you like, these are the other places that you might want to hear, other shows that played that music track, because you might like the other shows that played it. And the last one we did was called a publisher feed, Mathew, where I like Smartless, or I like this podcast. It happens to be also part of a bigger group of podcasts by a podcast network. You know what? I didn't know that Smartless was part of Wondery. Click. Now I can see the whole of the Wondery group. Oh, right, I might try a few Wonderies. So we're trying to use this as another form of discovery. We go back to that early problem of discovery. Pod rolls and publisher feeds are examples of technology to help us discover other podcasts.
Is there a plan, or are you seeing where podcasters are monetizing that suggestion space? If you're a big enough podcast, you've got thousands of fans, I can imagine being that recommended show would be a big boost to your audience and valuable.
I'm sure that people will start to do swaps and charge for those swaps. That's going to be the nature, but that's actually, thankfully, something that TrueFans doesn't want to get involved in. We don't have any plans to get in between what podcasters and podcasts want to do, right? That's up to them, because why would we? And what's the point of trying to police that? That's your choice to your fans of your recommendations. If they feel that you're selling them a pup, and it's a bad recommendation, guess what? That might have other issues for you further down the road. So it's your trust with your fans. If you feel that the recommendation is worth giving and you still want to charge for it, that's fine. That's up to you. But we won't get involved.
Okay. So for the podcasters listening who are like, okay, I'm intrigued, what should they do?
Well, thank you. Please come to truefans.fm, sign up. So you put in your name, validate your email, boom, you're into the system. You've got a wallet. We then ask you to complete a number of tasks that teach you how to use the system. And then you can then simply take the money that we've given you and start playing, or you can then top up your wallet using Apple Pay or Google Pay. We added one other option as well, because we thought users, don't want to be constantly topping up their wallet. So we've added a recurring payment model. So if you want to put in $5 or $10 or whatever amount you want as a recurring payment, and we do it through Stripe. So, it's validated through Stripe. It's not just my personal bank account giving you money. So you basically say, yeah, you know what? My podcast budget is $10 a month. Just top up my wallet every month with $10. And after that $10 is gone, I'm not going to be giving any podcasters any money. But at that point, I'll wait till the next month. Or you can manually top up if you feel like you really want to. So we're trying to make this a totally simple fit and forget solution, where don't even worry about the fact they're called Bitcoins and sats. Think of them as just fun tokens that you're giving, just as you would a heart or a like. But this happens to be a token with money. and you're just giving that to your favorite podcasters if you want. As I said, you don't have to give anything to listen to podcasts on TrueFans. It's a choice.
Okay. So, as a reminder, we've been chatting with Sam Sethi. He is the CEO of TrueFans, and he's also the host of the weekly show for Pod News, where he talks to James about what's been happening in the space. As a reminder, and like you just said, make sure you head to truefans.fm to claim your show, or even if you're not a podcaster, go on there just to become a listener so you can support your favorite show in the podcasting space using all their cool features in the podcasting 2.0 ecosphere. So, I mean, this is probably an obvious question, and you're obviously working on it, but are there other places maybe in podcasting where you'd like to see some improvement, whether it's from the content creator side or from the listener side?
One place I'd love to see an improvement is hosts validating the content that they publish on behalf of creators. We this week had a host allow a 40 megabyte cover art image in the RSS feed. Yeah. So they uploaded 40 megabytes to this host. This host is now distributing that through Apple, Spotify, Podcast Index. No validation on that at all, because 40 megabytes on an app is just going to crush the app, right, in terms of loading that page. That was not just at the cover art, that was at every episode cover art level as well. So this one podcast was over 300 meg in size. Now, there was no validation being done by the podcast host at all, and that just blew my mind. So we have to, anyway, by the very nature of TrueFans, we compress all images because we need to make sure they're fast and quick loading. We also need to validate the RSS feeds to make sure there's no empty missing titles, which we often get, or duplicates, or there's so many errors within RSS feeds that could be killed at source by the host by saying, hey, you filled that field in, but you filled it in wrong. Or, you've got an empty field here. Before you click publish or before we send it out, why don't you just go back? You forgot to put the season 1 number in, or you forgot to put something in this field. But none of that's being done by hosts. And it just blows my mind that we have an industry that is not taking just a one-step validation before publication.
I can't even imagine, though, as the host, what that's doing to their bandwidth costs, putting 40 megabyte artwork in there. And I'm honestly surprised that it's not getting flagged. I know with other platforms, they won't even let me proceed if my artwork is too big or the wrong size, even though bad artwork can absolutely break your show in Apple.
I don't want to name it because Matthew, I'll tell you offline, but I'm not going to name it here in shame, right? But fundamentally, you can then go afterwards and you can go and have a look for yourself. It is crazy, just crazy.
What about technology wise? Is there a piece of gear or a piece of software, something that is on your podcasting wish list, whether it's something that's out there that you just haven't, pulled the trigger on and bought, or something that you wish somebody would create?
In terms of technology that I haven't bought, gosh, that would be no, there isn't. I'm just a geek. I mean, I'm running a Rodecaster 2 here. I mean, yeah, I love geekdom. I'll tell you about one piece of technology I recently bought that I do love, and I bought my Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses, and I just absolutely love them. They have a camera and a video in them. They have AI built into them. They look super cool like Ray-Bans. And everywhere I go with them, I just have them on. And if I want to take a photo, I just go, hey, Meta, take a photo. Hey, Meta, do a video. I want to take a call, I can answer it. If it's a WhatsApp or Insta call, I can basically also show you video of my first person view from my glasses. It's just the coolest thing. And then the last bit is I can ask when I look at a building or an object or a cup of tea or whatever it may be, hey, Meta, what's that object? And it'll then go and use the AI and tell me what it is, maybe give some history about it. So while I was in Greece recently, it was great walking around and asking Meta to tell me what was going on, what this building was, and just I can hear it in my own ears. And it's not interrupting anyone else. And I just think it's such a cool piece of tech. And I basically walk my dog with those sunglasses on listening to podcasts. And it's, nobody has to worry that, I've got two things stuffed in my ears and there's a car about to run me down. So, yeah, Meta's Ray-Ban sunglasses are pretty cool as a new piece of tech.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I got to tell you, when I get bored with podcasting, AR is the next space that I want to jump into. There's so many fascinating things that could be done over there, that I'd love to be a part of all that. Um,
I think the way that glasses will evolve will be the entry point technology into AR.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the Vision Pro are incredible. Just I tested them out, and the experience is just mind blowing, and I can't describe it. You really just have to experience it, but they're not practical. Once everything that they're doing is practical into a frame like this, it's a total game changer. We won't have to carry around these phones anymore.
No, well, it may be that the phone is still in your pocket as the primary driver, but I think if you look at Apple, they've got I think it's an M1, or maybe it's a separate named chip in the AirPod Pros. You have a chip within your phone, you have a chip within your Apple Home Pod, you have a chip within your M1 or M4 chips. Apple has secretly built their own microchip platform in public, but nobody's talking about it. Now add glasses to that, add the watch to that, and you suddenly see a wearables market where suddenly the glasses is an extension of your phone. It's an extension maybe of what's on your wrist, an extension of what's on your laptop. I think they know that they will be able to shrink that technology down from that big visor. I mean, if anyone remembers the first mobile phones, you carried a battery around and they were massive, right? And now look at what we carry around. So I think it's just again a time thing, but you can see the evolution of technology, and it's super cool, and I love it. And I'm with you on AR. I always say that's the fourth wall that I'm waiting to happen.
Oh, I can't wait to see what you come up with then. Last question, and this is probably a tough one because of what you do and the platform that you run. But do you have a favorite podcast or two that I'm sure you listen to a bunch, but is there a few that when they drop, you are stopping what you were doing, or you are stopping what you're listening to and going straight to that show?
My personal hobbies are politics, sports, and technology. Right, so there are several technology shows like Adam and Dave's on a Friday night. I drop everything, to my wife's disgust. On a Friday night, 7 o'clock, for 2 hours, I'm still listening to podcasts while cooking dinner. And she's like, "Will you just stop? You've been doing it all week." I'm going, no, it's live. I have to listen now every Friday night. We can't go out on a Friday. We can't go to parties. We can't go to theatre. It's just awful. So that's one. And I love politics shows. Like in the UK, there's one called The News Agents. There's The Rest is Politics. There's the American ones. I'm fascinated by American politics. So I listen to a lot of American politics shows. So yeah, politics, sport, and technology. They're my three go-tos.
So are you having a grand old time with the Olympics on?
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, again, it's not the most exciting Olympics, I think. I don't know if you agree, but they're not the named characters that we used to have in the past. There's not a Carl Lewis, there's not a Usain Bolt, there's not a Mark Spitz or whatever. There's nobody that I feel that wow. I mean, I think Simone Biles is the biggest name in the Olympics, right? It's a name that everyone would know, but I couldn't name the rowers. I can't name any of the sprinters. I can't name any of the long distance runners. They're just not on my radar, and they're not as well known. So I'm watching it because I'm a sports addict, but I'm not watching it because I'm going, I must watch that 100 meters. Usain Bolt's going to be in it, right? Just not doing it because of that.
And it's interesting with Simone Biles. She's an incredible athlete, right? I will not say a bad word about her, but part of her fame is a result of what happened 4 years ago, right? If she had just competed and did her thing, you're right. I don't think we'd be having the same conversations around her. But that being said, she's been incredible and deserves everything that she has earned during these Olympics. So, but yeah, I agree. It's there are more names, but none that are really as popular. That being said, the Turkish shooter meme is probably the closest thing to a superstar that have come out of this Olympics thus far.
Yeah, I think there will be names that we will get to learn, but I just watched the men's 100 meters and I just didn't know anyone in that race. And it's a great race and it was very fast and it was on the line splits, but I was like, Yeah, okay, well done, America. Unlucky Jamaica. I mean, I had no interest in any of the runners particularly. I watched it very objectively. Just, yeah, it's a great race. Whereas when I watched Usain Bolt, yes, win that third gold. Go on, mate. Break a world record. I felt more passionate.
Let's see what happens when breakdancing starts to air. We've been chatting with the wonderful Sam Sethi. He's the CEO of TrueFans. Make sure you check out your show at truefans.fm. And frankly, go on there and try checking out your favorite podcaster and see if there's a better way you could support and communicate with them there. Sam, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Matthew, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure too.